Hey guys, today I want to chat about what Genshin's future might look like. So the big lore reveal of the Abyss Kings clearly is not so shocking to me, nor will the Three Moons, or the False Sky, or even the very point of the World Tree, and so on. But it's okay, that's not the future I'm talking about. I'm talking about whatever it is that you guys assume is the end of the main arc we're in. Once that Gnostic story is complete, how can the game go on? And what the heck exactly is that gonna look like? So I might have sounded a bit jaded and annoyed in my last video talking about the Abyss Kings and such, because I had already known all that and had been talking about that for years. I even called that they would all be females, so no shock and therefore no excitement. Sorry, but I can't fake that, and I'm not fake, so I don't want to. However, I have to tell you that I'm very excited for what I see could possibly be coming up in Genshin's future. Not because of lore and story, but because of the very shape and form Genshin will start taking. So let me explain what the heck I'm going on about. So there is a new leaked mode, which is like a social user-generated content mode, which is even a case that I myself pleaded to Genshin's devs in the past, because one of the first reasons I joined Genshin in the first place was because I wanted to play with my friends, only to be disappointed at the very few things we could actually then do together. I had expected to go on quests together, to do dungeons and raids, possibly even duel them. I was quickly disappointed. Genshin had massively lacked these social elements. Sure, we could do domains and bosses, but that's about it. And that's even capped by resin, so you can't even do that for too long. In multiplayer events, we can do whatever the new game is together. So it's nice, but it's just not enough on the social aspect, was my point. This is why I kind of pleaded for something like multiplayer Dynasty Warriors, or some kind of like Mario Kart Racing or Among Us and so on, because these little games like this, they keep people playing the game just for these little things, and they will then come back tomorrow to play it some more. That's not even what Genshin's about, but these little things could keep people entertained and keep people coming back and keep people busy inside of Genshin. Another thing that I pleaded with Genshin for was allowing us to make dungeons and be able to play other people's dungeons as well. And I made it pretty clear that I wasn't just talking about like domain platforms where we fight whatever on. No, I wanted dungeons like the very first dungeons we explored in Genshin. I remember back then I had assumed all domains would be like such, only to be massively disappointed that almost all of the domains are just like fighting platforms. So what the heck is my point, right? Why have I been saying all of this? Because Genshin is doing these very things I asked for. Even though it may not be because of me, they are still doing it. So it's like, it excites me because like I wanted this. I don't need credit if it even was my doing. I just want these things because I think everybody could benefit from it, including Genshin itself. So what exactly is this new game mode? What exactly are they doing? So Genshin is adding social hub zones, where you can meet people, hang out with people, show off, group up, play together, or even make your own private lobbies. By the way, in these lobbies, we're not running around as Lumine or like Aika or whatever character you have unlocked. No, we're running around as a new character, which I'm gonna talk about even more later, but you get to customize what that character looks like and what that character is wearing, and you can even get more outfits and styles and stuff for yourself through like a new banner system. So we're all gonna be running around looking pretty unique and not like all just like little clones of each other. As well as Genshin is going to allow us to make user-generated content, which means we can make our own little dungeon. So why does this little change, this little addition to the game have me so hyped? Because some of us out there will be able to make such cool and crazy and challenging places, even more so than the devs could have done themselves. And faster, as at any given point there will be people out there like me working on more. So there will always be something new out there without even taking time away from Genshin working on the story and characters, or polishing the game and working on more map and so on. We can take part of the load to help Genshin become a better game. Some more little details about the new game mode. What I heard is like we can make like teams of 8 players, or perhaps teams up to 8 player. I'm not really sure. And the public lobbies and hubs will be like 20 players, I believe. And private rooms where you make to hang out with your friends and so on, it's like, I believe is up to 12 people. The user-generated content, we could design those maps, those games, those dungeons, however we want, with whatever mechanics we want to make them with. Or at least that's how I have perceived it. So that being said, we can use the game mechanics in Genshin that has already been made and make game rooms out of it, like perhaps Wind Trace rooms or Splatoon PvP rooms or Tomb Raider or D&D or WoW like dungeons and raids, maybe like Mavuika motorcycle room racing tracks, and likely every single other type of game or mechanics that Genshin has ever made. But not only that, but since Genshin is always trying to make something new, some new game for every event, it means that we'll keep adding more and more types of games and mechanics that we would then be able to use in our own user-generated content, games and maps, which in my view is absolutely going to change the game for the better, giving people so much more to do and explore, so many more games to be played and friends to be made, or even fun stuff to do with your friends that you already do have. This is the kind of breath of fresh air I had been hoping and expecting from Genshin. I mean, I was already here for life anyway, but some of my friends got burned out and get bored. And where do they go? VR chat, Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, or where do some of yours go? To some of the newer Genshin wannabes? They might seem a little bit better here and there, as they are mimicking Genshin and building upon that. But my question is, what happens when Genshin finally is done with the map up to that, and therefore they can solely focus on polishing the game and improving things? They could then take all of the other great things and great mechanics from all those other games that copied off of them, and then take those things, those mechanics, those systems to the next level. But not only that, Genshin is always constantly adding and trying new things. They're gonna win. No matter how good any next game is that mimics Genshin, Genshin could just mimic that game's good shit as well. They can always just improve, they can always change the system, they can always evolve. Genshin can always get better. Other people try to mimic Genshin because Genshin is already great. In my very first video I ever made about Genshin, I said something like, let Genshin finish what their original vision was, because clearly we are all here for it. Yeah, we want more, but give them time to focus on all of the things they already have on their plates before expecting it to evolve into all these other great things that we want and we hope for from the game. I know it's gonna get there. And now this very thing can not just hold many people off, but keep them busy indefinitely. Not only that, but perhaps this is the future of the game. If this game mode is successful, they will likely give us more to it. More games, more mechanics, even more space for it. This honestly has me more hyped for anything else I've seen in Genshin for a long time, besides like Nahida. Which might sound odd, but when I first joined Genshin, I assumed Genshin was like a normal fantasy games, elves, magic, dungeons, so on. I joined in like Fisho's Castle Summer event thing, and I haven't really felt that high magical fantasy-ness. Besides like when I first met Nahida, or the little Aranara village. However, that new Centaur girl, by the way, is finally like giving me that like high magical realm fantasy vibe that I originally expected from Genshin. So I hope people really like her, so we get more things like her in the future. You know, like after the main arc finally closes that chapter? Or is this next place just that, the land of the Fae? Anyway, a few things that really makes me wonder is, how is this new multiplayer place going to make sense to the story? Every event game and place makes sense to the story, even the teapot. So story-wise, what the heck is this place? And who the heck are we? Is this just like some virtual game that like Ether or Lumine will log into to play? Or is this like our true form, not Lumine or Ether? Since day one, I wanted to customize my main character, as that's just normal in every game I've ever liked playing. I assumed they wouldn't allow us to and would never, as it's better for marketing reasons and merchandise, even recording cutscenes makes it a lot easier. However, if this is our true form, the avatar we customize and dress up ourselves however we want, would that then tie back in the default Genshin game? Like would someone like Alice or something like that be like, oh, this is the form you choose to have taken? Or someone more powerful seeing who we really are? Maybe even forcing us into our true form, taking Genshin to like the next level. Also, if people like this new mode, I could see perhaps one day when the world of Tibet is completely built and story-wise it's 100% saved, Unless they're going to do what I've talked about in the past, which is like there will always be new enemies, new cults, new armies spawning, taking over old zones and turning them into like new camps and locations and so on. As well as the Abyss Kings constantly coming back. Even if we kill them, they'll come back in new forms with new tactics and new plans. So if not that, or if that and also this, which is that like after we complete the main arc of saving Teyvat, we then move on to the next planet or next realm, which they might be in need of a little bit of help from us and all the new allies we've made along the way so far. It could literally be a never-ending story. However, the original point I was going to get to is they could take this alternative route, which is they could have it that once we beat all the Abyss Kings, they somehow stay gone. And once all our quests are complete and everything is cleared, how crazy would it then be if the world of Teyvat is like an open lobby for all players who have made it that far, just roaming around, hanging out, wherever the heck they want in the entire world of Teyvat. No hilly trolls, no bad guys anywhere because we cleared them all out. We just use that as like a giant lobby to hang out with. Besides like when new events are made, which we then will all like gather around to complete those events. And let's be real, if this future plays out like this, it would be those events would mostly be like multiplayer games, which is made so we could then have the mechanics to then add it into the user generated content, which in this version of the future would be the main bulk of what Genshin is all about, is user generated content. They just keep giving us new things to keep creating new stuff with the user generated content for. That's one possibility of what the game could turn into once the main story is finished, if user generated content is super successful, and if they don't want to make any more realms and planets or continents, or reviving creatures and bad guys and gods, or new gods and enemies entering our world. I also have so many other thoughts of cool routes that Genshin could go down, but until we see how good and how much people like this user generated content, this will dictate how much Genshin will actually invest in it. But for now, I think the best part is that like all the people that had left Genshin or might have been thinking about it, this is the breath of fresh air to keep people happy and with more and honestly likely never-ending things to do now. Anyway, I could go on and on about this for like forever, just speculating and hoping and trying to envision what this is gonna look like and how good it'll be. It might suck, to be honest. It might suck. We don't know yet. We gotta see what it's gonna look like and what is gonna be our limitations or lack thereof, right? But anyway, what do you guys think? As for me, I think this is the best and smartest thing I've ever seen Genshin do so far. Anyway, see you guys later, and I look forward to perhaps hanging out with some of you in like the lobbies in Genshin, as weird as that sounds, and trying some of your maps and stuff. So see you guys then.